Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What Exit Jersey Stories. I'm your host, Nick Franco, and with me, as always,
Pete Riario.
And today's special guest, I am very happy to have on our show today. He is a friend of the show, friend of ours. We are a friend of his show. We were a fan of his product.
Oh, good. I was hoping you'd get the placement in there.
Mr. John Ross Cocozza, the real boss Ross himself.
Well, first of all, guest, but I don't know about how special guest. And thanks for getting that plug out of the way right away. Nice.
No, there'll be more.
I had my harvest cider, but I drank it also. Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
You see, I was lucky for Christmas. My in-laws, my mother-in-law and her husband, actually got me a bunch of Ross beer because they live down in Dayton,
Okay.
Jersey. So they brought up, Ross to me.
Well, we had, and I guess when was that, Nick? When you said Christmas time?
Well, okay, yeah, it wasn't at Christmas, but we got together with them in, I think, late January it was.
Okay, I was going to say, but even then, we weren't up in Bergen County yet. We weren't anywhere up north yet. Now we do have representation, thanks to our friends at Bottle King. Awesome. We're in a whole bunch. Matter of fact, I just spoke to them earlier today, and for two of our newer beers, which we'll be talking about, which is our Brux Royale Belgian Chocolate Stout and our Snack Shack, Meet Me at the Snack Shack Session IPA. They're bringing those in. Not every location. I think up there, mostly up north, he said was going to be Bottle King Ramsey and Bottle King Glenrock. I'll double check that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how far those are from you guys or not.
It's closer to Pete, where Pete used to live, but
yeah, I used to be out in Mawa, but I found the Harvest Cider I found in Ledgewood, New Jersey, which is right on Route 10 at that Bottle King.
Yep, we're up there too. Ledgewood has a lot of our stock, but they didn't have room for these two newest ones. This will be the first week release, so the way they're managing it is they said, okay, we'll bring it into a couple of stores up north, just so we can, placate some of the people up here that are looking for it. And then eventually we'll roll it out to the rest of the Bottle Kings like the rest of our lineup is. You can usually get Navasink, Shrewsbury, Passaic, Manasquan, Harvest. You could get those at 14 of the 15 Bottle Kings. The only one that we're not in yet is Princeton, because it's a little further west than we normally go. But in any event, so next week they'll have those up north, but if not necessarily very close to where you guys are.
That's sweet to know.
I'm trying to think. You're in also. You have some representation around the Morristown area there too, right, John?
We do. I'll pull it up the chart in a minute here. We just crossed 120 New Jersey accounts. So
congrats.
The first 100 or so, I'll say. I know everyone there. I know the owner of the place. I'll know the beer buyer. I'll know key staff. As we're starting to get over 100 accounts, it's a little tougher for me to know every single one. Mm-hmm. But the enthusiasm has been there. We get emailed all the time. Hey, can we start carrying your product? And we'll do a quick internal discussion. And if it's on a route that's already kind of going in that direction, we're happy to add them on. And then when we have enough sort of requests from one specific area, like what happened with Bergen, then we're able to open up Bergen County. We did it with Passaic County, and not just bottle shops and stuff. There's we just got in a restaurant in Tommy's Tavern and Tap in Clifton, New Jersey.
Oh,
so they have the Navasink IPA and the Passaic Porter on tap, which I guess the Passaic Porter really makes sense. They're literally like on the Passaic River, and Passaic County and all that. And then a little further north, even getting close to the border, I know like in Haskell, New Jersey, and Wayne, New Jersey, we're in a few spots. Best Sellers, Kitchen and Beer Bar. Let me think. Maggie's in Ringwood. I mean, this is further north than I usually get, guys. But the man is there. So
you're passing us going north.
Even further. I know. Okay, further than you guys. All right.
Yeah, well, you're going in, like when New Jersey makes that little crook there, and you can keep going north. You're going up that way,
right? But hey, get all your bases covered, in all of New Jersey. That's what we want to say.
I was just I know Morris Plains. Morris Plains is another Bottle King that we're in.
Oh, perfect. That's
Yeah.
where I work. Well,
Oh,
not
really? Okay. All
Morris
right.
Plains. That's
Nice.
why Morristown. That's usually the proper and the bigger area there. But yeah, I actually work in the Plains.
Excellent.
I think we're in a total about 5 or 6 accounts just in Morris County. I'm updating the beer finder on our website every week, rossbrewing.com, and then you navigate over to the beer finder or just type in rossbrewing.com/beer finder. And it's got to the point where, knock on wood, this is a good problem, but I have to update the site every week because we just keep opening accounts.
To have.
Awesome. That's great news.
But let's rewind a little bit. For all those that don't know, again, John is the proprietor of Ross Brewing here in the great state of New Jersey. Out of now, I believe it's Middletown, John.
Yep, that's the official. It's Middletown, New Jersey. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, I have a question for you, because you originally your first location was at the firehouse, the old firehouse there in Red Bank. Are you still operating out of that at all while the construction's going on in Middletown, or because
that's a really good question. There was some crossover, just because of the terms of the lease and the time that they were expiring. But no, now we're operating exclusively out of Middletown. Of course, while construction is ongoing, we're contract brewing all over the place. We've got 4 different contractors. We started with 1, and now we're at 4, just because to keep up with demand. Because you know what, with contract brewers, they've got to brew their own beer too, so they can't just give you whatever brew dates you want. I've learned that the hard way. So if you can get 2 or 3 dates a month from someone, and now we're at a point where we need more than that. So we're contract brewing at Elementary Brewing, at Valero Snort Brewing, at Cypress Brewing. And then, of course, we do our ciders out of the Orchard Hill Cider Mill, which is just on the New York side of the border, right by the Woodbury Commons there. So we're up to 4 spots now, and we're potentially even investigating a 5th spot to just to be able to bring everyone the beer they're looking for. Hopefully, once Middletown opens in a few months, we won't need any of them. We should be able to brew all the beer we need at our own spot.
Question for you, John. Once Middletown officially opens, will you be doing also tours of the brewery, or?
Oh, 100%. And it's funny you asked that, Nick, because for a long time here in the state, one of the legislations, specific to getting the brewery permit is that you must give a tour to everyone that comes, no matter how many times they've been to the brewery before. Now,
really,
about a year and a half ago, a little bit before COVID, there was an amendment to that, which was you still have to give the tour, but if someone can certify that they've already had it within the last year, they don't have to do it again until the following year. So it's a once-a-year tour. So if you come to Ross Brewing 10 times this year, which I hope you guys are able to do somehow, you would only have to get the tour the first time. And then, each brewery is kind of managing it their own way. We'll have a little card that we give you when you complete the tour. The date will be right on there. So every time you come, you can just show your card. And if we see it's more than a year old, time for another tour. The thing is, we actually love giving the tour. And I think our site in particular is going to be a fun tour for people to go on, because we've got multiple buildings on the property. We've got the dock. We're out over the water. There's a great outdoor space. There's an outdoor beer garden. A spoiler alert for summer 2022. Next summer, we're also putting an outdoor beer deck that goes out over the water. So we've got a lot of neat features. We've got a really cool and innovative brew house system. Nobody in the state actually has this system. Typically, if you're going on a brewery tour, if you guys have been on brewery tours before, what size is your brew house? Well, this is a 7-barrel, this is a 10-barrel, this is a 15-barrel, this is a 30-barrel. At some of the bigger breweries. So ours is actually a dual system in parallel. It's a 15-barrel system with a 3-barrel system. The 15-barrel system, and to explain it to your listeners, that 15 barrels means how much beer you're brewing at once. And the output of that would be 30 kegs. So a barrel is 2 kegs.
Wow.
And sometimes, in the business, colloquially, we'll refer to a keg as a half barrel. But so that's 30 kegs output on a 15-barrel system, but then it's running in parallel with a smaller 3-barrel system, with my design there being the 15-barrel can fill up 15 and even 30-barrel fermenters. That's the beer out for distribution. The 3-barrel system could fill 3-barrel and 6-barrel fermenters, and that's to service our tasting room. So a little smaller, a little bit more nimble, so we can put different things on and keep people engaged and excited with all of our new brews. Plus, for all the crazy ideas I get, the guys have to ring me in. Well, maybe we don't need to do a giant batch of that, raspberry, pomegranate, butternut squash stout. Maybe we just do a small batch first and see how it goes.
Nice. Now you just mentioned actually one of the flavors that I do like, not butternut squash, but raspberry. Actually,
okay. Me too.
Pete introduced me many years ago. If you didn't know, John, Pete is Belgian.
Oh, I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so did he introduce you to maybe like a framboise?
Exactly. Yeah.
On the nose,
like Kriek, stuff
I love
like
those,
that
Pete.
back in the day.
When did you come over here from Belgium?
Well, so like I have dual citizenship. I was born actually in the Bronx, New York, but my mom was Belgian and she met my dad over there. In fact, many years ago, married, came over here and all. But I went to nursery school over in Belgium, and just all my summers were spent. I worked on a farm in Belgium, so like there's a lot of history I have.
Okay,
being
you
over
weren't
there,
drinking the Belgian beers in nursery school yet, right?
No, but I was young when because there was no real drinking age in Belgium, right? So probably 13, I want to say 14, 14 years old that I would sit and have whether it was like a palm or one of the
what do you have, like Chimay, Duvel?
Yeah, Chimay, right, exactly. Omegang, right.
Yeah.
There's just on and on and on. There's so many Belgian beers, as you well know.
Well, the Belgians are very really, the masters of this certain style of brewing, which we've come to call farmhouse brewing and saisons, and then Abbey ales, the Trappist ales.
Yep.
I mean, these Trappist monks have been making these beers the same way for 1,000 years.
Yes.
So over here in the U.S., you've got craft breweries like us at Ross Brewing. We're doing everything we can to sort of emulate, using modern technology, what they perfected, with a stone pestle, 1,000 years ago.
Right.
And it's fun. I can tell you that.
I bet.
I think of our first dozen beers, we've done 2 sort of Belgian style, out of our first dozen.
The Vit is
exactly. So the Belgian Vit, which is the Manasquan, which I have to tell you guys, we're very, very pleased with it. And there's 2 indicators of that it seems that the consumers are pleased with it too. Number one is we can't keep it in stock. I mean, it keeps going out of stock because it just sells faster than we anticipate. So we keep having to brew bigger and bigger batches so we don't run out of stock. And the second is, where we probably should have had a better inkling, is in the Ross Brewing prehistory period, before we were able to sell beer like we are now, we did 4 or 5 Ross Brewing, tasting parties over the years, whether it was at an event or I hosted it even in my own backyard or at other places. And of all the beers we did, Manasquan Vit was always the first to kick the keg. And we think it's because of its crossover potential. The ladies like it just as much as the guys. So you've got double the amount of people drinking it, whereas on the other end, our Brux Royale or our Brew Royale Belgian chocolate stout, maybe somebody might look at a 12% heavier, thicker stout with Belgian chocolates, molasses, vanilla, cacao nibs, milk sugar, all that, and say, ooh, that might be a little too much for my bikini bod. And so maybe they're not. Although I would advise them to try it, because if they try it, they're going to like it.
I bet.
I believe it.
It sounds delicious. I can't wait to try that one.
I was going to say, all this talk about it, I'm going to open a Shrewsbury lager.
There you go.
Very nice, my friend.
That Shrewsbury, that's our backbone. Obviously, Navasink IPA is our flagship. And again, all those 3, the Manasquan, the Navasink, and the Shrewsbury, those 3 just are continually selling out for us. So we're looking forward to opening our doors and be able to make as much as we want whenever we want. But that Shrewsbury, he's the outsized performer. He's the one that's in our mind playing above his pay grade, because we designed it to be an amber Vienna lager. So this one's not a Belgian style. This is a Vienna lager style. And when I came up with this, I just looked at the lagers that I like to drink before I got heavy into craft, kind of the ones that were like my gateway drug into craft beer, like 15 years, 20 years ago. And so, you come back to Sam Adams Boston Lager,
Okay.
Brooklyn Lager, and kind of the Godfather, which is Yingling Lager.
Yep.
And
am I correct in saying this? The biggest craft brewery in the U.S. Because there's
so the
craft brewery.
Depending, there's a lot of definitions right there. Okay, that people can quibble at. Biggest, one way that people measure that is how big is your distribution net. The other is how many barrels of beer are you producing. And craft is, you're not owned by some other bigger corporation. Sam Adams' case, they went public as the stock BBC. They became the bigger corporation. Well, they're saying, hey, we're still craft, and Yingling, well, they've been family owned for 200 years almost. So one thing for sure, they're the oldest. I'll let them and Sam Adams quibble on who's the biggest. But but they both make great beer. And so with the Shrewsbury, what we tried to do was, just tasting it. And this is the fun part, right? Tasting all these beers and saying, can we try to reverse engineer a recipe that for me would fit within that triangle of Sam Adams, Brooklyn Lager, Yingling Lager. And that's what we did with Shrewsbury Lager. It's the beer that converted my dad. It's the beer that converted my father-in-law. Guys that are like lifelong, Heineken, Bud, Beck's, maybe a little St. Pauli girl. Essentially they're all drinking the same international macro Pilsner. And this is saying, hey, listen, the lager part's going to taste familiar to it with a little more flavor. And once you get them with that, then you can start hitting them with the the blueberry marshmallow sours.
Right.
Now you say like 15, 20 years ago is when you got into the craft brewing. How did you get your start? Like what actually, what was the pull to you that it's like, I want to actually get into brewing beer or actually let's go before that. When did you kind of discover the different types and really get into,
that's a good question. It's not one I'm often asked. So I got to go way back in the memory banks here. I made it through college here in the U.S. like everybody else, probably chugging Coors Lights, Miller Lights, Bud Lights, playing quarters, playing beer pong, all this kind of stuff.
I was going to say that's the expensive stuff. I thought in college it's
Natty Light, it's good.
Really,
Schaefer's, all right.
Schlitz,
yeah. But after college, now I'm working in the city in my early 20s, very early, 20, 21, 22. And we had a number of spots that we like to go to. And the time, my friends, and you guys know them, them as Sully and Mo. So that's Todd Sullivan and Muhammad Youssef from Point Blank Podcast. We're three young guys just starting our careers in the city. Todd had been my high school friend. Mo had been my college friend. I kind of merged the two. And so now we're all together. And, we're just hitting different bars. And we stumble upon this place on Bleecker Street in the West Village. And it's still there. It's called the Peculiar Pub.
Oh, I know it. I've been there.
You know what I'm talking about, man. You can go around the world and back there with hundreds of different beers. And so that was my first exposure to, wow, look at the variety that's out there. But there's a caveat there. And the caveat is what I learned upon repeated viewings. And we made a copy of the map menu that they had. This is probably 96 or 95, 97, something like that. And we used to carry it around with us in our back pocket. And every time we went back, if we made a new beer, we'd cross it off and try to hit all 500 beers from around the world.
Oh my God.
It took a while, but then again, not as long as you think. But one thing we realized is probably half of them were essentially kind of that same beer. It's what I kind of just spoke about, like this macro Pilsner that is the one kind of beer that's sort of spread across the world. In the U.S., it's the only beer that survived Prohibition. Pre-Prohibition, we had super variety of beers. We had high-strength beers. Prohibition comes, 20s, 30s. They're all stamped out. Only the biggest breweries, Anheuser-Busch, the Coors Company, are able to survive by brewing very light, weak strength near beer. Well, once Prohibition was over, they said, well, it's certainly a lot cheaper to keep doing this. So that's what they continue to sell. And now they call it, the king of beers, Budweiser. But these are very light beers compared to, think about like the German immigrants that used to come here.
Yeah.
They make these robust beers, man. So anyway, that beer style is the most popular in the world. And every country has their own version of it. If you go to the Dominican Republic, they'll have Presidente. If you go over to Asia, you'll get Singha or Tiger, and it's all these sort of yellow pilsners. So that was my first exposure to variety, but also my first realization that not everybody is actually really digging into that variety. They're doing variations on the same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first, what I would call craft brewery that I was exposed to, now we're getting a little later, maybe 97, 98. These guys don't get nearly the credit that they should in terms of the creation of the industry in the U.S. And it's a Canadian brewer. Actually, they're a couple of Quebecois. Okay, so they're from Quebec, called Unibrew or Unibroue, Unibroue, and they come out with just these amazing beers, La Fin du Monde, Maudite, Don de Dieu. And they're these crazy interpretations of what, Peter? The Belgian Abbey styles. But they're big, they're doubles, they're triples, they're quadruples.
Yep.
Now we're drinking these things and very ill prepared for it because there was nothing of that strength here. And the flavors are just driving us crazy. And that's when we started to think, wow, this could be something. Fast forwarding a while, before we opened a brewery, got into the home brewing side of it. But at the same time, I built, owned, and operated 2 craft beer pubs. So we weren't brewing beer. We were just building the kind of places that we would like to go to.
And now, is one of them Wild Goose?
One is the Wild Goose. Very good, Dick. One is the Wild Goose in Staten Island, New York. One is Maloney's Pub in Matawan, New Jersey. Now, the Wild Goose had a lifespan of 2009 to 2012. Maloney's, we actually started the year before in 2008. It's still going today. We're no longer involved. Myself, Todd, and Mo, we had to step back because part of the beer laws are you can't be involved in like either brewing and distributing and selling, or brewing and selling. No combination. You have to be at one level. So, we sold our interest in that years ago, but it was fun to create it and build it. We liked it so much we did it again with the Wild Goose. We actually had a policy for a long time, which was no Bud Miller, Coors, or Corona. And I have to tell you, the beer distributors, they're like, are you crazy? Like, that's like our 4 biggest sellers. I'm like, you know what? But we had a concept. And we did that concept twice. And it proved to us that it can work. And so right around that time, I left my Wall Street job doing, investment finance to join Mohammed at L'Oreal doing manufacturing finance. And I'm working in a factory up in Piscataway and just watching like these shampoo bottles get filled and these soap bottles get filled. I said, wait a minute. Okay. I love to homebrew. I've got the craft beer retail experience and I'm working in manufacturing. You put it all together. I called the guys up. I'm like, why haven't we opened a brewery yet? And the rest is history. So,
yeah.
Now, here's a question for you, John. Your first attempt at brewing your own beer.
Oh boy.
What type was it?
Okay, well, the less said about that brew, the better. But
well, that probably answers my second question. Well, how was it? But
okay, yeah. Well, listen, it was an IPA. Right now, IPA means so many different things. IPA is a real big category, so big that now there's subcategories, right? Double IPA, Imperial IPA, any IPA, whether you call that New England IPA or Northeast IPA, the hazy, juicy IPA. You got fruited IPAs, all kinds of IPAs. This time, it was just IPA. And what we now refer to as a West Coast IPA, which in fact is the inspiration for Navasink IPA, our current flagship. But back then, we just called them IPAs. You had Stone Brewing out in California, Lagunitas, Ballast Point, Green Flash. These guys were way ahead of the curve in craft beer in the U.S. before us. So I said, I'm going to brew this at home. I think just about everything that you could have done wrong, we did wrong, okay? Somehow, miraculously, we're able to ferment it not enough and too much. It tasted.
Wow. How'd you?
I'm telling you, man, it tasted like drinking a cup of fresh cut grass, trimmings. So we definitely got the vegetal side of the hop presence there. And so, but the malt bill that had become the wort that eventually becomes the becomes the beer itself, that was underdeveloped. So I don't even know if you could call it beer, but you know what? That was the first one, and they got better from there. But they're all a learning experience. Hopefully, whatever mistake you made, you're taking notes, and so you're not going to make that specific mistake again. You're going to make all new kinds of mistakes.
Right. I remember a friend of ours, actually, Pete Christian.
Yes.
Yeah. Years ago, he decided to try making his own, and it came out pretty good. But It was a little strange, the fact of it was done pretty quick, because when he had his little tub there, to ferment, it was a little too close to the heat.
Oh, temperature
it fermented
is a
too
huge
quickly.
role in fermentation.
Yeah, but strangely enough, it was not enough to really throw it off. It was passable.
Wow. Okay. Well, hats off to him. I will say this: much like in medicine and technology, in brewing for sure, lots of discoveries happen by accident, by something nominally going wrong, and then you realize, wait, actually, that's not too bad. Can we duplicate that if we actually tried?
Right. Yeah. Can you repeat this process?
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, what was I going to say? Also, you had mentioned, as far as in New Jersey, like, why open in New Jersey versus, say, open a brewery in New York? Because again, as your origin story comes, you're from Staten Island, are you not?
Yes.
Okay, so like what was the lure to actually open in New Jersey?
Okay, I guess in the shortest sense, the easiest, glib answer is, well, I wanted a short commute, right? I moved out here to Monmouth County 20 years ago.
Okay.
So while I'm a transplanted New Yorker, my kids are New Jerseyans for sure. And this is where we're going to make our stand. Maybe until we get old enough, I guess, where we have to go to Florida. It's mandated. But before then, we're here. And the same time, for as many breweries exist in New Jersey now, and there's a lot. We crossed 100 there as well. We're still vastly underserved, believe it or not, in breweries per capita. Out of our 50 states, we recently have grown. We've gone up to 45th. We're 45th place.
Wow! I didn't realize how low our standing was.
When I started the process, we were 48th. So that's a testament to how many breweries have opened, and also how long it's taken Ross Brewing to get open. But we're up to 45th now. And, look, guys, the name of the show, Jersey Stories. We're one of the most backward states in terms of like alcohol laws and things like that.
Which is kind of weird. Like when you think about what you mentioned earlier, prohibition.
Yeah.
Even though, things were, prohibited.
We've all seen Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah. We were one of the wettest states that you could still kind of get around in there. Yeah, and you mentioned Boardwalk Empire, Nucky Johnson, not Thompson.
Right, real life version, right?
Yeah, the real life version. Yeah, but, you had the ports down there. Hey, bring it in, and then he took his cut, made his profit. People got to drink. They were happy.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I try to explain this to people who are like, why is it so hard to get a liquor license in New Jersey? I opened a pub in each state, previously, right? As we just said. In New York, you file, you give your fingerprints, you pay your $3,000, you get the license. Done. In New Jersey, number one, you can't even get one, unless someone else is selling one. Because they're a fungible commodity and they're not making any new ones. And that's why instead of $3,000, you'll pay $300,000 or $3 million. It's depending on the town and the population. Say I want to open a little pub, but Applebee's wants to come into the same town, and now we're bidding on the same license because Grandma Dolly from Dolly's Inn is selling her license. Well, this is going to be her retirement, and also I'm not outbidding Applebee's. So these things get into the millions of dollars. So anyway, you say, why would that happen? People say it all the time, like, why is it so hard in New Jersey? Well, that same Nucky Johnson and his ilk, right? Think about this. Now it's prohibition. Liquor's not supposed to be here, but it's coming in from Canada, from Kentucky, from everywhere. And they're making a good penny bringing liquor to the masses, whether it was beer or spirits or wine or what have you. Now, all of a sudden, right, prohibition is repealed.
33.
Do you think these guys want to give up making that money? No. So they were, just as you saw on the show, very politically connected. And so they were able to shape the legislation back in 33 and 34 that controls how we make, distribute, and sell beer today. So the same families that at that time were like the bootlegging organizations, they became the beer and liquor distributors of New Jersey.
Wow.
So, that's incredible.
Oh yeah, man. And so,
so you do know like some of our like Jersey beer history.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, if you're gonna give people a tour, at your facility, you could tell them all about Ross Brewing and the creation story and all our different beers. But I think the more you learn about our local state history and how it relates to beer and liquor, I think you can give people flavor, no pun intended. And we do have a rich history here. It's kind of a bananas one, but we have one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Speaking of, do you know when the first brewery opened in New Jersey?
No, that's a really good one. Before I give my guess, is it a brewery that's currently open?
No.
Okay, then no.
Okay. Well, the first brewery, you want to take a stab at remember the time?
Yeah. I gotta
it does sound vaguely like a point blank game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, that sounds like exactly a point
blank.
So I'm going to say that maybe, even though I don't have records of this, there must have been, because I know right over the river, right over the Kill Van Kull in Staten Island, there were a ton of breweries pre-prohibition, a lot of German and Polish immigrants working and creating there. So let's say that there was some here and it got snuffed out by prohibition. So let's say 1881.
Okay, and Pete, I know we discussed it earlier. Do you
I already know the answer, so I can participate, can I?
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So you do remember.
Yes.
You want to know that you're about 200 years too late.
What? Wow.
The Dutch actually were the first ones to brew in New Jersey back in 1641 in Hoboken.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Dutch settler Art Tuinsen van Patten. No relation, I think, or maybe a distant relative of Dick and family there. Yeah, he got his license or got the lease and opened a brewery in Hoboken. And hopefully you don't get the type of Yelp rating that he got.
What was that?
John, Ming Chen is chiming in and asking, why is your beer so good?
We'll answer that, but I want to find out about Mr. Van Patten first here.
Well, he got the first negative review from the Lenape tribe.
Oh boy,
here in North Jersey, and they burned down his brewery.
Oh man.
Okay, so they weren't fans. All right,
they were not fans.
And coincidentally, somebody almost burned down our brewery.
I was about to say it wasn't.
I hope it wasn't the Lenape, right?
Yeah, I know that weren't meddling around near your brewery in Middletown.
There's no burial grounds, around us, but But it's probably like you mentioned the liquor license. Probably in 1641, it would have been like a royal charter. That's what they would have done to say you're authorized to produce this as long as you send X percent of your proceeds back to the crown. But you know what? There's probably an opportunity there. I know Hoboken Brewing. I know 902 Brewing up there. Somebody should be tapping into that local history as Hoboken being site of the first beer brewed in New Jersey. If they don't, look for a Ross Brewing beer based on that soon.
Oh, there we go.
I like the idea.
And do you know also another Jersey beer history fact? You were saying 1933. That's when Prohibition ended. Okay, and you still had the the families controlling things. But in 1935, there was a first by I believe it was the Kruger Brewing Company, right? Let me just double check.
They were the first post-prohibition brewery to open.
They were first, but they also did something else first in the nation. They packaged in cans.
First in the nation. Wow.
The first in the nation to package in cans.
They were visionaries, man. Visionaries.
We're here in New Jersey.
We were talking earlier how 15, 20 years ago, when, starting out craft beer, everything was, everything was in bottles like this, right?
Mm.
But probably the tide started to turn about 10 years ago. And prior to that, cans were thought of for that cheap stuff, the college stuff. But here's the thing. Whatever your preconceived notions are about cans, they are hermetically sealed. They keep the beer fresher. Even the tightest crimped bottle cap can allow some passage of gases between. And again, even the most opaque brown or green bottle is letting some sunlight in. So cans preserve beer better, longer, and they achieve what all of us who brew desire, which is to get you guys the beer as close to how we envision it when brewing it. So I am glad that the industry came around to kind of embracing cans. There's always going to be some beers that are better served like in a bottle. I'm thinking of like a really rich stout or a barley wine that you can age and bottle condition over time. But yeah, wow. So those guys back at 35 were the first ones to do the cans.
Correct.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I think they are also no longer.
No, they're not around any longer.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll tell you what I'm going to do, though, in their honor here. I'm going to crack open a can of Ross's newest offering, Snack Shack IPA. Okay. It's first hitting stores next week.
I'm going to look for that.
Can you describe Snack Shack for us?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
So the full name here is Meet Me at the Snack Shack. And, we've got an IPA that we just love, right? It's our flagship Navasink IPA, and it's almost 8%. It's a West Coast inspired. Oh, look at. Okay, all right. Now this guy comes prepared. I love it.
He is.
So that's a sort of throwback and homage to the beers, the IPAs we grew up with, those West Coast IPAs. So it's a double IPA. I use a citrus profile of hops. And then on top of that, we really lean into the citrus effect by adding grapefruits to the fermenter as well during secondary. So that's Navasink IPA. But you know what? There's going to be times when maybe you're not looking to do an 8%er. Maybe you're looking for something a little bit more, a little lighter. What they call today a little bit more sessionable. Or with the younger call today, a beer that's crushable because you can crush a bunch of them. So I'm thinking it's a hot day. You're either working or you're on the boat or something. You can enjoy more beers quantity wise. Unless you're you're John Belushi's character in Animal House, then it doesn't matter. But generally speaking, for most of us, you could drink more of lower alcohol. So Meet Me at the Snack Shack is a 4.3%. So that's a session IPA. But what we were really trying to do here was create a session IPA that drinks and tastes like a full strength IPA. Oh. Oftentimes, that lower alcohol comes with it, lower flavor, lower hop profile. And so we had to go to the lab many, many times on this one. We got our recipe down to 6%, then 5%. I'm like, we got to get it lower. We got it under 5 into the 4.5 range, but it's now making sure all the flavor's there. Finally, I think we cracked the code. It's a beer that we think is going to, I hate to repeat the word, that the younger generation, uses a lot, but this beer is going to crush this summer because, the warmer weather is coming. Everyone's going to be vaccinated. I think the beachers are going to be mobbed this year. And giving a beer that somebody can have a lot of under the hot sun without killing themselves or becoming a menace to others, I think this is it. So that's Meet Me at the Snack Shack. You don't want a full meal. Sometimes you just want a snack. And it's actually the first can in our entire lineup that we featured some original art on it.
Sweet. Who designed?
Sure. So we have a friend of our program, and we mentioned him on the last episode because he was chiming in there. His name's Tommy Lombardozzi, and
also of the Hoof, right?
He has two podcasts. He does. He hosts one with Chris. That's called The Hoof, And then he hosts one with this other guy, Mike, and that's called Jack Kirby, which is all about honoring the art of Thomas Ledger, Jack Kirby. So Tommy does both of those podcasts. And the thing is, he himself is a great artist. So for this one, we wanted to get an iconic Jersey Shore, snack shack on the beach on the boardwalk. And, we started looking at all these different pictures and I'm like, oh, I like that one, or I like this one, I'm like, yeah, what if we could design like our ultimate iconic one? I'm like, why can't we? So he called up Tommy, we pitched it, and he put a lot of little cute tidbits in here, which you guys will see when you pick up the can. Like hanging from the snack shack, there's like an old style blue New Jersey license plate,
Nice.
He's got a lot of cool things on there. There's some surfboards leaning up against it. It's the outdoor shower. So when you come off the beach, you can rinse off and grab some snacks. So anyway, that's our Meet Me at the Snack Shack. Starts going statewide next Tuesday.
Right. I've always loved the look of the cans, John. Just, in terms like the marketing, they always stand out, I find, on a shelf when I do see them. I'm sure that that there are, as I'm sure obviously a lot goes into the brewing process, but I'm sure equally, but a good amount probably also goes into that aspect too. Does it not?
Pete, you ain't lying.
Yeah.
The other day I took a new member of the team and I visited one of our customers, a Buy Right, in Holmdel, New Jersey, and I said, "Come on over to the craft beer section and tell me what you see." And the guy was just flabbergasted because it's row after row, shelf after shelf, every color, size, shape, and he's like, "It's just overwhelming." He goes,
I know, yeah.
How do you get someone to pick up your beer? So, we've seen it all in the industry over the last 20, 25 years. We've seen guys that have just been, or teams, not just guys, teams. It is International Women's Month as well here, but we've seen, teams that have come up with amazing beers. They could be the best brewers, but man, they can't market for poop, or they might just not know how to run a business, and vice versa. We've seen, unbelievably styled beers, great marketing, social media, all of that. But then, unfortunately, you pick it up and maybe the substance isn't quite there. So, for us, it has to start with the beer. So, we have a very, very simple rule, and you would think this is obvious, but not every brewery has this rule, but we have to enjoy the beer before we put it out. So there could be styles that maybe people like, and maybe if we don't necessarily like it, I'm not going to put it out just to cash in. I need to make a beer that we know we could enjoy. But once it starts with the beer and we know we have a good beer, then the marketing, unfortunately, in 2021, where we are, has to become part of the game. So we've paid a lot of attention to our social media. I think we've grown our Instagram followers all over 26,000 so far. Mostly, of course, New Jersey and New York. We've got some followers from outside. I don't know if it's like on cue here. Matt Miller, who is a top fan over from Point Blank, he's here and he's saying, guys, realistic estimate of when Ross Brewing will distribute to other states, or is it too soon to tell? Well, we do have a realistic estimate, and it's not too soon. If this was 2 weeks ago, I would not know. I could tell you by June, we will most definitely be distributing to states other than New York and New Jersey. We're probably going to do about 22 states.
Wow.
We're very close to having the signed co-distribution agreement. I can't say much more about it right now, but when we can, we'll throw that list of 22 states up there. And
Excellent.
once that's in place, then we work on trying to fill in the map, So hopefully,
John, I really feel like word of mouth is going to just make your company sail. The quality is so good, as Ming Chen, alluded to earlier, of your beers that I just can see it. We're just going to one person going to tell another, "Oh, have you tried this flavor of Ross Brewing? It's really excellent," and just kind of snowball effect. Yeah. So
listen, Pete, I hope you're right. We're certainly doing our part. We engage with the community. There's a number of causes and charities down here in Monmouth County that we're affiliated with, and as we open, we're rolling out special, unique beers to help support different elements of that community. Some causes that we're very passionate about. Are clean water. Now it sounds kind of simple. I said for us, our company all starts with the beer. Well, the beer all starts with the water, and
Right.
since water is so important to beer, it's made us realize like how much of the world doesn't have clean drinking water, and as well those rivers and shorelines that are so important to us. Like all our beers are inspired by them. You have the nautical certainly imagery right from our logo, and then all of our beers named after rivers. But our local rivers and shorelines are fighting this never-ending battle to stay clean and therefore be enjoyable to all of us New Jerseyans. Whether you like boating, or ice boating, or surfing, or fishing, recreational stand-up paddle boarding, whatever it is. The waters are important to us. So we're involved in a number of causes there related to clean water, both from an environmental perspective and from a drinking perspective. And the other thing is, New Jersey, we're certainly one of the wealthiest states in the country overall. And where we are in Monmouth County, it's fortunate to have a very high, level of wealth as well. And so a couple of years back, I was volunteering for a volunteer day at a local food bank. And when I found out the numbers of local people, and I'm not even saying like, oh, go to the inner city, like literally in your own backyard of people that are struggling with hunger every day and night. So we partnered with, Fulfill, which is the food bank of Monmouth and Ocean County, Lunch Break, which is a food bank operation based in Red Bank, and a couple of other organizations to really combat hunger. And then the last, where we're kind of, again, sort of engaging with the community. So if they like the beer and then they see that community involvement, maybe they're inclined to spread the word, like Peter was saying, is, one of my nephews first, and then later on a second nephew, were diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And so then I started to do a deeper dive there, learning just how the rates of autism among births are growing to, it's the highest it's ever been. Right. So it's partially a greater understanding of diagnosis, but then also an unexplained increase in diagnoses. So Autism Speaks is an organization that works with families who may be overwhelmed from, dealing with one or multiple, children on the spectrum. And then as well, there is a resource for those that have questions or needs. And so that's just something that we're partnering with too, because once again, New Jersey, we're number one. We are number one in the United States of America in terms of diagnoses of autism per capita. So it's a worldwide and even a national, growing epidemic, but even more so right here in our backyard in New Jersey. So that's just something that we're affiliated with as well.
I want to say at the last check, and this is probably going back a couple of years, I think it was like 1 in 92.
It did cross under 1 in 100. You are correct.
Diagnoses.
Yep, a little more prevalent in boys than girls, for sure.
Right.
And it's just in many ways remains a mystery. So anyway, of course, we've got all our local organizations. We've got the local firefighters, the policemen, the teachers, the nurses, all of our frontline workers that have been doing such an amazing job this last year plus during the pandemic. So they all will find a very nice welcome when they come to Ross Brewing in terms of permanent discounts and things of that nature. Of course, the firefighters in Middletown saved our building 2 days ago, so they might get more than a permanent discount. I don't know what we could figure out for them, but so we're doing our part. We're trying to make good beer. People seem to like it. We're connecting with the causes that really resonate with us, and I think we try to spend some time on the marketing. To Peter's point, and you put those three things together. Hopefully, we're something that people connect with.
Right.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think the main thing, the key word that you put out there amongst that is community. You realize you are part of that community and you're giving back to that community. You're not like, okay, we're just here for the beer and that's it. You want to buy it? Yeah. No. You're actively engaging, and that is so great, and so many more businesses should do that. It gets people engaged. It's like, oh wait, they're part of this. oh, I'm very curious about this, and they can be take part in that cause, and also then learn more about the businesses that are also taking part in that cause.
Well said.
Absolutely, great point. The other sort of community aspect that you just reminded me of, Nick, is that breweries themselves have a way that's been repeated across this nation of ours of becoming a gathering place for a town or a community where people of all stripes, no matter your political affiliation during these exceptionally divided times, no matter your social standing or class or beliefs or anything like that, breweries, people come together, they have great conversations. Maybe it's the libation that's loosening up lips, but whatever it is, people have a good time. It could have been the coffee house of yesteryear, but of course the coffee houses have to be a little quieter now, right. But and then the other thing is a lot of times in an underdeveloped area, so going back to, I mentioned Brooklyn Brewing at the top of the program, they went into Williamsburg, Brooklyn when it was a wasteland, 1989, and they kicked off the Renaissance. Now, good luck even getting a studio apartment in Williamsburg.
Wow.
And so that blueprint is being repeated all across the country in areas that maybe previously have suffered from urban or even suburban blight, or areas of underdeveloped, areas that were once developed and fell into disrepair. A brewery could come in. Now people are coming in. They're communing at the brewery, and it helps foster that sense of community you were talking about. Next thing you know, somebody puts a pizza shop next door because everybody at the brewery needs pizza, right? And then you're off to the races.
So, or a 40-pack of McNuggets says we
I had Ming ordered the other night. So where we're going in Middletown. Middletown's a big town, and Middletown itself has so many communities within it. North Middletown, Leonardo, obviously, Kevin Smith
right
from there. Right close by that, Leonardville. You've got New Monmouth, and then you've got the couple other little towns, Belford and Port Monmouth, and that's where we are. We're right on a creek that separates the Belford town from the Port Monmouth town. So while we're in Middletown, we certainly are part of that smaller town within Middletown, and because my friends up the road established Belford Brewing a couple of years ago, I went to them. I said, "Hey guys, here's what we're going to do. We could go either way with this because we're right on the river, the border." I said, "I'm going to let you guys have the name Belford. We're not even going to put like Ross Brewing, Belford, New Jersey." So all of our iconography, our signs, our logos, we've rebranded as Ross Brewing, Port Monmouth, New Jersey. And this area we're at is a vastly underdeveloped area. We're out on a peninsula, out into the sea. So we're on a river with Sandy Hook Bay right adjacent to us. There's the Belford Fishing Co-op over there. Of course, a lot of it burned down. I'm being somewhat facetious. What burned down was just some storage sheds, some brush, some decommissioned boats. No people were hurt, and no actual buildings that were operating were hurt. So this is, if you have a fire, that's kind of the best way to do it. But other than that, there's nothing going on up there. And in our discussions with the town, the mayor, and the council, when we were considering relocating from Red Bank just to the next town, Middletown here, we asked, would you guys be opposed? They're like, opposed? What can we do? Like, they rolled out the red carpet that said, "Oh wow, we're going to support you 100%. Come on in." And their thinking is, we can do what breweries have done all over the country. Start this community here, people coming together, and then other money will come in and people start developing that area. Who knows? I hope that happens. In the meantime, we just want to make a cool place for people to hang out.
Fantastic.
Love it.
We cannot wait to go there.
Same here.
It's funny you mentioned Brooklyn Brewery. That was, for me, that was the first brewery I ever went to. Wow. I visited a brewery before, but there was a podcast there. It was part of the New York Comic-Con back in 2014, I think it was. And they did it right at the Brooklyn Brewery. I was like, oh, wow, I get to enjoy the Brooklyn Brewery at the same time. Oh, this is great.
That is cool. They have a great brewery. I think I remember the campaign you're talking about. That was their Defend Beer campaign.
Yes.
Where they partnered with New York Comic-Con. what we love Brooklyn Brewery. I've taken the Ross Brewing team there 3 times on like sort of team field trips, and I've probably been there a dozen times myself. Their head brewer Garrett Oliver is a friend. He's doing great work. He started something called the Michael Jackson Foundation, which is promoting education for minority and people of color brewers and distillers, because they're so underrepresented in the industry.
Right.
And it's not from a lack of desire. So
No.
he's saying, hey, listen, we're going to give scholarships. We're going to give brewing and distilling education. And he does all that while still being the head brewmaster at Brooklyn Brewing. So we certainly love that place. I'm sure you had a good time when you were there.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed. in more ways than one.
Is there an ETA for when? Well, in other words, when the middle town brewery you think will open?
Sure. We
expect
to be wrapped up with all our construction in probably less than 2 months. We're in the end stage
sooner than I thought.
All of our brewing equipment is arriving the week of April 12th. We're going to install all that. Now, all of a sudden, you look like a brewery. And, it'll probably take at that point, maybe another month to wrap up construction. At that point, however, it's in the hands of the state. Once you're done and you're all, ready, now they have to, process their permits and licenses, including coming out and doing a visual inspection. So, we're trying to build everything exactly to the requirements they gave us, because in every case, they're going to give you certain requirements. Okay, at this site, this is what we need you to do, etc. So we're following the letter of the law as they gave it, trying to make it as easy as possible for them to approve us. So if they can approve us, I mean, theoretically, we could open by Memorial Day. That's probably not realistic. June, July, probably the most likely.
Which would be fantastic if, again, given what last night, if you saw the presidential address, we're looking again, praying that maybe around 4th of July time that things can be a little more normal. And what better way for things to be normal would be going to Ross Brewing.
I hope you're right. I hope our opening can sort of coincide with that return to normalcy. We'll definitely take credit for the nation's return to normalcy, the Ross Brewing opening.
Yes.
But look, we're all getting our vaccines. I think the president said by the end of May, everyone that needs one will have one, and if they want one, we're seeing the restaurant capacities increasing. Now we're up to 50% here in New Jersey. We're at 25, then 35, now 50, and that's going to go to 75 soon. And the next thing you know, we're back to normal. So it may take a longer while in general, because let's remember, so many families, 500,000 families have lost somebody, and that's not just something you just switch off. We've had a few losses in our family. You guys probably already know on the Point Blank podcast, or we've had a couple of guys' parents pass away. So it's a real thing. It's going to take some time before everything's truly back to normal, and maybe years. But in the sense of starting to feel like getting back to normalcy, the hope is this summer.
Yeah. Now, and it would be great to coincide, the official opening of Ross Brewing at that time, that we can all gather at Ross. And for all listening, please, and go to rossbrewing.com. I'm sure you'll have updates on there as soon as.
If anyone goes to rossbrewing.com, there's a little box that you can stick your email address in, and then you get subscribed to our updates. So we put construction updates, we put new beer updates, we put new distribution area updates, so that kind of stuff. And of course, as often as possible, we share those to our Instagram, and that's at Ross Brewing, and between the website, newsletter, and Instagram, you'll really be plugged into what's going on. And our brewery, I mentioned it. It's something that could give a good tour. We've got an indoor tasting room. Upstairs from that, there's a second floor tasting room that doubles as a private party room. We've already got parties booked there for the second half of the year, from corporate Christmas parties to a wedding rehearsal dinner. Now we don't serve food, but we have food trucks on site, from different vendors, and as well, of course, you can have anything catered that you wish. So it's like it runs the gamut, like from a little office party to fun events. So and then from that second floor, besides our river and our water, you can see right across that water. You can see New York City, Coney Island. You can even see Jones Beach. You can see Staten Island. So it's a great view across the harbor of the New York City skyline. And then, so you've got the indoor area, you've got the outdoor beer garden. We've got our beer dock, which is a deck that's set up, with a number of tables out there. And for those that are nautically inclined, we're the only brewery in New Jersey or New York that you could bring your boat right to and tie up to our tasting room.
So, that is excellent.
Can't beat that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Now, John, are you officially announcing now that Ming Chen's annual Christmas party is now being moved from a shared universe to the Middletown brewery?
I don't know that I am authorized to make that announcement, but I would strongly suggest it to Ming and Mike.
Yeah, sure. I like the idea, right?
Yeah, we definitely should have some events, like some shared universe events over at Ross Brewing.
I think it would be a great idea. Of course, we could podcast from there. Even those upstairs rooms could be a good podcasting location. I'm sure for the grand opening, where we're expected to have a number of high profile guests as well. I'd be shocked if our main man Ming Chen wasn't live streaming the whole time.
I sure hope so.
That's
yeah.
right.
But you guys are definitely invited, and we hope we come down.
John.
We've hung out over at the Assured Universe Eatontown location and the Assured Universe Asbury Park location. We haven't hung out at Bell Works yet.
No, I want to. It looks beautiful over there.
No,
yeah,
impressive.
Yeah, I love seeing like when Ming is casted from there, and it's like, oh wow, we definitely have to check out the studio there.
So, John, we delved into the past and the origins of Ross Brewing Company and the present as well. With the brewery opening up in Middletown, New Jersey. But what is it? To our listeners out there, what is the future as far as Ross Brewing Company in terms of new beers that will be coming out that you're experimenting, and any kind of a tease maybe that you can
sure.
give the audience?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, Peter. I'll give you a short-term tease. I'll give you a little longer-term tease. So next week we're canning our Shark River Pils. So it's an American Czech style Pilsner. So Pilsners generally fall into German style or Czech style. So if you're familiar with the Czech style, Pilsner or Kel is
that's standard. I've been to Czechoslovakia, and so that's what I drank over there.
Oh, great! Wow, great beer. So that's what inspired us there.
It is.
What we did is, rather than using the traditional European noble hop known as Saaz, we used the American designed what's called a super noble hop called Laurel, Loral, and rather than use an array of hops, this Czech style Pils features the single hop. So it's sort of the star of this one. It's super clean and crisp. And if you are one of those, say non-craft beer drinkers, where you just love your yellow Pilsners from all over the place, well, guess what? This is the one that we're going to lure you in with. So that's Shark River Pils. That cans next week for delivery in 2 weeks. Obviously, the three newest beers last week, this week, next week are Brux Royale Belgian Stout, 12%. Mm-hmm. You've got Meet Me at the Snack Shack, right, which is our session IPA, 4.5. And then you've got the Shark River Pils. And again, that comes in at about 4.5 as well. So we think that Shark River and Snack Shack, they're really going to light it up this summer. Beyond that, we've got some real good stuff in the hopper. You can look for these in the coming weeks. We just did our first New England style hazy, juicy IPA, which is called Virtual Learning. And just something very topical. I got to see it on both ends. My kids doing the virtual learning, and my wife, the lovely Suzanne, here doing the virtual learning as a teacher from home. So she's doing the virtual teaching right now. Wow. So that's the Virtual Learning IPA. It's 8.1%. Again, a haze boy, New England style. And it even comes with a holographic silver can. So it's super cool to look at.
Very cool.
Coming out in about a month. We've got our first collaboration with Twin Lights Brewing. We did a double hopped, double fruited sour IPA. So it has mango and pink guava. Comes in at about 8% IPA, fruited IPA, and then we put it through the souring process as well. So this one is checking off a lot of boxes. For our first collab, we wanted to do something that neither of us had done before and really push the envelope. And this fits that bill. And then right before Cinco de Mayo, Ross Brewing will be coming out with Theo Valero. Theo Valero translates as Uncle Sailboat, is our Mexican style lager, which we brewed with a Mexican lager yeast that would be familiar to any sort of Corona or Dos Equis or Modelo drinker. Mm-hmm. And then to that, we added right there in the mash, lime peel and the fermenters, lime peel, sea salt, and agave nectar. So this is going to taste like drinking something between a Corona and a shot of tequila. And so that's going to debut right before Cinco de Mayo, and then hopefully that'll be available for most of the summer. And then after that, you can look for Tarted Up, which is our sour cherry saison. You got a bunch of stuff. Peter, we got to cut this off at some point, but I can give you the next 250 beers and they're released.
All of them.
It's exciting times for
we do have a raspberry marshmallow sour coming.
Oh wow!
It's going to be a tasty, sweet and sour at the same time with a good fluff to it. We're hitting a lot of different stuff. In the longer term, in terms of what you can expect from Ross Brewing, besides us continuing to try to innovate and push the envelope and come up with new beers and even new styles of beer, is for us to expand our distribution. Right now we're in 11 of the 21 counties in this state. So we got 10 more counties that are looking for our beer. Mm-hmm. And then, we're in New York. Right now we're downstate, Westchester, 5 boroughs of New York City, and Long Island. But, we have the rest of New York to go to as well. Mm-hmm. Then we have, we'll do Connecticut, we'll do Pennsylvania, Delaware, etc. Florida is big on our priority list because lots of New Jerseyans and New Yorkers go down to Florida. I go down for business and pleasure. And, if I see like a carton beer or something like that's local from New Jersey or New York, I'll always gravitate towards that. So we're going to go there. And then, right now I mentioned earlier, our distributor in New York, Tap Room, they have the ability to home deliver beer to anyone in New York State. So with our new partnership that's probably going to be debuting in a month or so, we'll have that same ability to deliver beer to anyone's home in 22 states. So and the last thing I'll tease you with is in 2022, Ross Brewing will also be in 3 other countries. Okay. Outside of the US. That's correct. We will be in the United Kingdom. We will be in Australia, and we will be in Japan. So, Ross Brewing, we're going international with this baby.
Let me know about the Japan one because I work for a Japanese company. So,
can you arrange a trip out there, Nick?
Yeah,
I'd love to. Believe me.
Congrats on all of that, though.
We're short here with time, but we want to be. We didn't even get to really talk about Point Blank Podcast, but in the spirit of Point Blank Podcast, we're going to do 2 quick games for you.
Okay, let's do it.
Pete, do you want to do yours first?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. But I'll shorten it, obviously. I'll do like 3 of them. How about that, Nick?
Okay.
I'm calling this authentic ale or fake fermentation. Now, you have to guess whether or not these beers, IPAs, are real creations that you can go out and buy, or if I just completely made this up.
I love this idea. Wow.
Right off the bat, I'm going in all guns blazing. All right, we're going Rambo style here. Whale Testicle beer. Now, this is Stedgy Brewery. Then a Stedgy Brewery, they combine 2 of nature's finest resources, pure Icelandic water, breweries in Iceland, and whale testicles smoked in sheep dung. Now, did I make this up, or is this an actual real beer that you could buy, let's say, in Reykjavik?
When it was just whale testicles, I said this has to be fake. But when you added the sheep dung to the mix, I said nobody could be this depraved, Peter. This has to be real.
And
What do you think?
given that you have actually traveled to Iceland before,
I have been to Iceland. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with John and say, yeah, as crazy as it sounds, this is real.
Yeah, so run out and get your 6-pack now. Whale Testicle beer is real, real beer.
Have you drank it when you were in Iceland?
I did not. and it's called, I know I'm going to completely decimate this, but Hvalur, Hvalur, by Stedgy Brewery.
Wow. I've had beer from Stedgy Brewery in this house. My intern at work went to Iceland. They went to Reykjavik on a trip, and then when they came back, they know I love all different kinds of beers, and they brought me that. I can assure you, no testicles of any mammal were involved in the beer that I drank. And I hope no dung either.
Right. All right. So here's another one. Now this beer is called Glue Rooster. It's made with chicken bones. Okay. Now it makes for it's a more barley wine style, but there is a mild kind of meaty taste with the fruit adding a nice sweetness to it. Now, is Glue Rooster, is that a real beverage, real beer?
See, I know there's like a whole thing with like bone broth and it being healthy and people are into that. I mean, maybe someone could conceivably put that concept into a beer, but I don't know. It's just so off-putting. Pete, I'm going to say that one's not real.
Okay.
And I'm actually going with John on this as well, again, because this sounds actually too close to being, they could do this, that you went that route and made up your glue, what is it, Glue Goose or Goose Glue?
Glue Rooster.
Glue Rooster.
Glue Rooster, okay.
I mean, glue, go ahead.
Yeah, so the gold medal goes to both John and Nick for guessing that this is a fake beer. In fact, this is a beer that is featured in the show Preacher with, is it Dominic? Dominic Cooper, right?
Wait, that beer was in that show?
Yes, it's constantly, in fact, it is constantly chugged by the deranged priest Jesse Custer and his Irish vampire buddy Cassidy. So go back and, freeze frame it and you'll see Glue Rooster is what they drink exclusively.
I mean, it's a great name, right? It's glue because they threw the animal bones in, sure. But
right.
Wow, I have to go back and check that. I watched Preacher, but I don't remember seeing that. That's cool.
Yeah.
What else is in our flight tonight, Pete?
Let's do one last one. And again, real or fake, we don't know, but we got Cane Brewing Company and the beer, A Night to End All Dawns, 12.5% alcohol by volume. It's a bold stout. Spent more than a year aging in bourbon barrels before it's released to eager fans. Is this real?
Well,
A Night to End All Dawns.
It's a cool name, and from what you described, a 12+ stout aging in bourbon barrels for a year also sounds delicious as heck. Cane Brewing. I know Cane Brewing. I'm gonna say real.
I will also go real. Again, I know this is a Jersey brewery, Cane Brewing.
Yep.
So, Pete.
Well, it wouldn't be, a What Exit Jersey Stories podcast without a mention of one of our homegrown brewing companies. And yes, it is Cane Brewing Company in Ocean, New Jersey. And that is a real beer, A Night to End All Dawns.
A cool name. And I can tell you something else. What Exit for Cane Brewing? That's 105. 105 on the Garden State Parkway.
If you're in the area.
Great job, Pete.
Thanks.
Those are so good stuff. I like the format. If we can do a crossover, bring you guys over by us, I would like you to maybe even do another version of that.
I had more, so whatever. I'll save those for next time.
And,
Nick.
And in the vein of Point Blank Podcast, in the vein of older or younger,
oh boy,
this is New Jersey Brews Older.
New Jersey Brews.
I'm going to give you some breweries, and you tell me which of them is the older brewery.
Wow.
New Jersey.
All right.
Cool.
I'm a hometown guy, so I'm gonna give you Hackensack Brewing or Elementary, both in Hackensack, New Jersey.
Okay. I've been to Elementary. Very nice place.
I've been to both.
They're only actually about 2 or 3 blocks from each other.
Correct.
But only one of them has a graveyard as their front yard, and that's Hackensack Brewing.
That is correct.
By my recollection,
Is that a clue?
elementary is probably 5 years, and I'd put Hackensack at 2. So Brews older, elementary.
I am
are correct.
Yeah, I was going to agree with John. Just so you know, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, I know you've been there actually with Mike Donnelly, and
yeah,
I was going to say, you were at that one way before Hackensack Brewing existed there. So yeah, I knew you knew that one.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go a little further now. Let's go Last Wave in Point Pleasant Beach versus Double Nickel in Pennsauken Township. Who's older?
That's a really good one, Nick. That's really good. In my mind, they're pretty close. I'm going to give Double Nickel the slight edge in being older, but it's so close in my mind anyway that I don't think it could go either way. I'll say Double Nickel's 1 year older than Last Wave.
And Pete, what do you say?
And yes, I'm looking over at his sheet, so I'm copying John. The same answer.
Okay, and you were both correct, and you were very close, John. They were actually just about 2 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Nickel is older, from 2015.
So Last Wave I've been to in Point Pleasant Beach. I have not been to Double Nickel, but I know they're just old enough to have done a rebranding. So meaning, after a couple of years, they sort of changed the look of all their cans and logos and stuff. So I am looking, forward to getting out to Pennsauken, but I haven't been there yet.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent. And yeah, I had a few more, but let's
do one more. Come on, do one more. Do one more.
Definitely. And we're gonna go with High Point Brewery versus Cricket Hill. High Point in Butler, New Jersey. Cricket Hill in Fairfield,
New Jersey. Okay,
Nick, I'm going Cricket Hill right off the bat.
I got to tell you, you're good at this game that you created, Nick, because they are 2 of the founding 5 in New Jersey.
You are correct.
So they've all been around for a while. When I opened Maloney's Pub in Matawan, compared to 100 breweries today, when I opened that in 2008, there were just 5 breweries in New Jersey, and I wanted to make sure I carried beer from all 5 of them, and those were 2. Yep. As for who's older,
right,
I do have to agree with Pete. I feel that Cricket Hill in Fairfield has the edge over my buddy Greg Zaccardi at High Point / Ramstein Brewing, but I couldn't put an age on it. Is it like 20 years versus 15 years? I don't know.
Okay, well, let's go to the tape here. Cricket Hill in Fairfield preceded your pub there. At 2002, it was formed in Fairfield.
19 years. Okay.
Yeah. High Point Brewery in Butler. Do hots to them. They were in 1996.
Oh,
wow. 25 years? 25 years?
25 years of High Point Brew.
Hey, you stumped both of us.
I know. Damn it.
I figured to go with, as you said, 2 of the original 5 there, like the old 5 there.
Right. Yeah. Those 2. You have Cricket Hill and High Point. You've got Climax Brewing, River Horse Brewing, and then Flying Fish down south. Those are the
right.
the 5 heartbeats, as it were.
Huh.
Yeah, and I've had Flying Fish before. Excellent.
Yeah, it's very good.
But
great games, guys.
We gotta rush this one through here. So, John, if they want to get if everyone wants to get in contact with John Ross of Ross Brewing, how can they get in contact with you besides rossbrewing.com?
Sure. Well, like we mentioned, you have rossbrewing.com, and we can accept emails right through the site, or you can sign up for the newsletter as well. We've got our Instagram at Ross Brewing. You got my own Instagram, which is considerably more boring. I wouldn't suggest it today. I posted about the Battery Daddy, but that's at the Real Boss Ross. And yeah, I'm on Facebook. Ross Brewing's on Facebook, Twitter. All the boring stuff, But yeah, we welcome everyone to inquire. We're getting so many inquiries every day. Like, hey, I live in X town. Is there beer near me? Or oh, I liked X beer from you. Are you making any more like that? So, excuse me. We love interacting with the fans, and we've even brought on some members of the team that way. People have reached out to us, that said, hey, are you looking for someone that can do this? And we're like, yeah, you know what? We are right at this time. What a great reach out. So feel free to contact us, and thanks for the platform, guys.
No, thank you. And if they want to, please, on Wednesday evenings, please also tune in to the Point Blank podcast, through a shared universe in Eatontown, New Jersey, and at the Bellworks.
That's right. And I would get spanked from the guys for not mentioning it. So good call. Just in one sentence, Point Blank, we do craft beer, comic book, pop culture, and fun mini games. We drop in some guests, and the core staff is myself, Todd, and Mo from Ross Brewing, along with Ming and Mike from a shared universe and a comic book mint.
Excellent. Yeah, but we look forward to that every week.
Thank you guys for tuning in every week. Thank you.
No, thank you. And if you want to contact us, please, listen to What Exit Jersey Stories. Please like, subscribe. We're out on most of the
social platforms
there. We're at What Exit Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to hit our Twitter, we're Exit What at Twitter. Yes, I messed that one up. So anyway,
perfect.
Hey, but you just got to go with it, man.
Exactly. And just to give you an example of a Point Blank podcast, they have played Taboo with Taboo
from the Black Eyed Peas. Yeah,
from the Black Eyed Peas. So
we had Taboo from Black Eyed Peas on. He's actually going to be coming on again in a couple of months because he's got another comic book coming out from Marvel.
I know Werewolf by Night he's been doing. So
he's been doing Werewolf by Night, and then it's going to coincide with another drop from the Black Eyed Peas. So we've been texting that he wants to come back on. No confirmation or rumor. Will we once again be playing Taboo with Taboo? We may have to come up with a new game, although it was fun to do that.
That was great. Just to be able to say that. But anyway, for What Exit Jersey Stories, I've been Nick Franco.
I'm Pete Riario.
And our special guest tonight was
John Cocozza.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks, John.